Okay, people often ask me how I choose the movies I review for this month of horror movies. Normally I have a bunch of different websites. I try to find a very unique array of movies to do a review of. I stumbled upon Teeth. Teeth, I guess, would fall more into like a gore comedy, because it's actually more funny than it actually is in the way of scariness. Teeth is about a young girl who suffers from a bizarre disease known as vagina dentata. Yes, her hoo-ha has teeth. So as you can kind of guess, most of this movie involves her hoo-ha biting off ho-hos. Of course, they never actually show the teeth on her hoo-ha. So you're probably thinking, okay, so what's the setup for this? She is part of one of those like promise ring groups. So she goes around, preaching abstinence with other people who preach abstinence. So you're probably thinking, okay, so you've got a young woman who's got a medical deformity who goes around and preaches abstinence. Okay. She has a mother, stepfather, and a stepbrother. Stepbrother is your typical, like, stoner trash character. Now you also start thinking, too, that a story about a ho-ho eating hoo-ha would probably have an awful lot of sex in it. And actually it doesn't. It doesn't have a lot of violence. It has a lot of blood and, occasionally, like, bitten off ho-hos. Now, the fact that she doesn't want to have sex until she's married means the first time someone kind of forces himself on her, her body, I guess, reacts to it, and that's essentially him screaming and then kind of, falling back and blood pouring from his genital area. And then he dies. So that's when she first realizes there's something wrong with her. She goes to a gynecologist. Hilarity ensues. She then decides to surf the internet and finds out about the myth of vagina dentata, where apparently it's a curse and the hero needs to show up to defeat it. As you can kind of tell, this is done very much tongue-in-cheek, no pun intended. The characters are actually fairly well, laid out for the most part. They're still kind of stock, but they're given at least some definition. And, once the first time you see, what it is that kind of happens, you don't actually see it, you just see, a guy begin to have sex, and ironically, there's, like, next to no nudity in this movie. You'd almost think there'd be a lot, but there's almost none. And normally, when the gag, which is the term for a special effects movie, is used, there's normally like a bit of comedy to it, because the way the girl reacts is just, it's the way you would react if someone is forcing themselves on you and your hoo-ha bites off their ho-ho. Towards the end, she actually just kind of had fun with it. She does get back at her stepbrother. In probably one of the funniest scenes. It's very much like one of the ending scenes of Hostel 2. That is Teeth. It's a Dimension Extremes film. It's different. I entirely thought this was going to be like over-the-top, gore-filled, and instead, it's done so tongue-in-cheek. It's done to not take itself at all seriously. And it's actually really entertaining. And that's Teeth.